Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief. It's episode 143, Wednesday, February the 12th, 2025. My name is Rob Howden, and I will be joined in the studio by David Cole as he and I were down in Florida this past weekend for the finale of the 2025 Superkarts USA Winter Series. The event, of course, at the Orlando Kart Center. We'll dive into this here momentarily. Lots to talk about with championships, of course, on the line. A lot of great action down in OKC this past weekend. Today's show presented by a new partner, AIM Sports. From its early days, AIM Sports has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and they are excited to celebrate 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed from cutting-edge features, including 25 hertz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and many more features. It's perfect for the karting enthusiast looking to enhance their game on the track. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron. Well, David, let's roll into this deal. First off, 30 years for Micron. That's amazing. I can remember when I was on what was my first? I think I was on a red eye. I think it was my first hack that I ever had back in the day. Micron changed the game.
Yeah, it did. It certainly has. It certainly provided those who love data engineering and finding ways to get a thousandth or 100th quicker. Yeah. It's certainly the evolution of the Micron has been a phenomenal. I think Micron 3 was my first. Maybe I had a Micron 2. Those were the yellow ones, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have had a 3 or 2, but yeah, I was old school. Digitron with the flip going from tack to temp. So
yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Again, folks, we're talking about the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale. The event held on February 7th and the 9th down in Orlando Karting Center. The last 2 rounds of a 4-round championship. 2 rounds back in January, 2 in February. 8th season for the championship, starting all back in 2018. David, we had some cold weather back in January, but it was really, really nice throughout the weekend, although we did have some fog on Saturday morning.
Well, when you say cold, that's cold for Florida because, yes. I mean, it was still somewhat, comfortable weather in January. So that was good. But it was much warmer this time around in February with clear skies all weekend long. There was fog Saturday morning, which was quite interesting driving to the racetrack and getting there. Luckily, it drifted away by the time they started warm up, so you could see the actual racetrack itself. But yeah, it was the temperature change was drastic compared from January to February for sure.
Yeah, we were 40 in the morning at one point, or 50 something in the morning, then up to 60s. We were actually 85 in February. That was, I think 85 was the high temp on Sunday. So just bottom line, it was a beautiful weekend, right?
Yeah. Closer to 90, maybe. I don't know. I was out there.
Yeah, you were outside. I was inside. That's right. But I'll tell you this, it was obviously big coming back home where I think I went from 85 to like 15. So temperature changes there.
Yeah, it wasn't the 100-degree change that we've seen before. Yep. Doing that with negative degree temperature. We did get that here up in the north a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I mean it's February here. This is when it's really cold, and then we get rid of the cold by the time we get into March. But by then we'll be all over the place in terms of trackside coverage.
Yeah, no kidding, man. We will be. Let's dive into by the numbers as we always do here in the opening segment of a debrief. Back in January, unbelievable record numbers, 316 entries to start it off, and normally you're going to get a drop, and we did get a drop of about 28. But David, still 288 entries for this particular category. Every class dropping just a little bit. I think a couple of them stayed. X30 Junior and KA 100 Senior remained where they are, but just some minor drops in all the categories, which you can get to expect from a series like this.
For sure, yeah. It's, January, it's the opening rounds, and you'll get drivers that are just there for that weekend. You get drivers who are all in and doing every single event they possibly could in what is this unique time period with all the events being there at the Orlando Kart Center. So,
yeah.
It's not a drop off. I mean, we were above what the high total was for last year's Winter Series. So January and February are the two highest Superkarts USA events that are non Super Nationals events. So That's a great way to start off the 2025 season.
Yeah, micro and mini still super strong. 44 in micro, 36 in mini, both just a little bit of a drop there. X30 Junior, as I had said, held station at 37. KA100 Junior dropped 10 to 55, still 55 drivers. The shifter kart categories took a hit. There was 5 in Master Shifter and in January, only 3 this time around. The Pro Shifter dropped from 18 to 13, but we did have the arrival of AJ Myers making his 2025 debut. That, of course, added some excitement. KA100 Master still strong at 13. Good to have a number of drivers in KA Master. That bodes well potentially for the Pro Tour this year, if that happens. KA100 Senior David at 46. Pro X30 still at 41 entries. So all told, just the shifter classes, we talked about that. We don't need to dive too much into that, but the other categories super strong.
Yeah, the numbers are solid. It's a great way to start off the year. Again, record numbers. So Superkarts USA has a lot of momentum heading forward for the year. Obviously, their California Pro Kart Challenge with their schedule just getting announced or confirmed a couple weeks ago. A really solid program there. So momentum's on their side right now, coming off a great Super Nationals in November. The number speaks for itself. I mean, people are there. So we'll see. Obviously we do have the Florida bump. That's the one thing we're kind of going to have to monitor once we get to the Winter Nationals here coming up for Superkarts USA and see, exactly how much of a Florida bump it was or how committed people are for the 2025 season.
Yeah, the good thing is when you head to Texas for the first round at Speed Sports, the Winter Nationals, you probably get the Texas bump because there's a lot of racers in Texas, as we know. All right, folks, we're underway for this edition of the Debrief, episode 143. After this quick break, we'll come back. We'll dive into the Paddock Pass, talk about some of the stuff that happened off the track. Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. The Parolin Le Mans full-size chassis for junior and senior classes and the Parolin Opportunity model for cadet divisions have earned success weekend after weekend at all the major championships and events in both the USA and throughout Europe. The Parolin chassis lineup also includes the Invader Shifter, along with the Daytona 4-cycle chassis and the Delfino Kid Kart. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America. Parolin USA partners with several companies and race teams across the country to provide a strong dealer network to represent the brand locally and at the national level to support drivers throughout North America. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Back at it here on the Debrief is myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole diving in to cap off our EKN trackside coverage of the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale in Orlando last weekend. The Paddock Pass, of course, some of the information happened really not so much on the racetrack, but more news from inside the paddock. This edition of the Paddock Pass brought to you by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, Tillett seats, and of course their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand at a weekday test outing or at a club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competitions. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David, let's dive into this now. We talked about the great numbers. We probably could have had more, but there were a number of top drivers we normally see at the SKUSA Winter Series who are actually overseas this past weekend.
Yeah, exactly that. Due to scheduling conflicts with the WSK Supermaster Series running on the same weekend as the SKUSA Winter Series, we saw a handful of drivers not in attendance in Orlando. And, fortunately, a number of them were winners at both the SKUSA event and the WSK event. So, we saw Lucas Palacio not back. He was a winner in X30. Liam Nakawati, a winner in Mini Swift, not returning as well too. So those were some of the drivers that were not in attendance, including Josh Bergman, who hasn't been back to the U.S. He's been racing over at the WSK program, now a two-time winner in the Mini U10 category. So great momentum there for him and for the USA drivers that are over there competing on the international level.
Yeah, Rocco Simoni was over there as well. Obviously, his brother having a big win here this past weekend, but Rocco over there running extremely well as well. I think he won one of the heat races. I think he got third overall for Rocco. It's cool to see these Americans over there just kicking butt. I'm loving it.
And, Canadians as well, because Rocco and Leo are under the Canadian banner.
They do live down in Naples, Florida right now, though. So
they do, but I always got to go by the license. Where that's kind of the one. It's cut and dry.
Well, like I said before, the cool factor about the Simonis is when I first broke in to the sport as a journalist in 1994, 1995, 1996, Rocco and Leo's dad, Anthony Simoni, was one of the young kids I used to cover in the cadet categories. So it's amazing to see him because he obviously came up through, ran Formula cars, eventually went into the NASCAR Canada program. And I love the fact that this is a second generation family that I'm calling races on. But yeah, you're right. They are definitely running under the Canadian banner, which is cool.
Yeah, and there are a number of Canadians over there as well too.
Yep.
It's cool to follow all the North Americans. There's drivers from Mexico and drivers from other countries who do race here in the United States as well too. So a lot of connections with a lot of the drivers that are racing there over in Europe.
Yeah, most definitely. We talked about the numbers, obviously. So the paddock is packed. One of the things about Orlando is that there's only so much room, and when you get events of this size, which they've had a number of them, it's jam packing everybody in. And when you do that, you're going to definitely have a cool atmosphere, right? It's that big race atmosphere, and 316 drivers back in January, still 288 at this one. This is a massive race. One of the things, David, you could feel the buzz in the paddock. I felt like everybody was pretty pumped up when I was there, even though, like you had mentioned before, they've been there for a number, 5 weeks in a row with SKUSA racing, with Rock Cup racing, with the back-to-back Rotax trophy events. It still seems like there was a great atmosphere in the paddock.
Yeah, it's tough to gauge why, because we saw it was a little different of an atmosphere in Homestead, and maybe because it's Homestead, Homestead's not Orlando. Maybe Orlando has more of a fun atmosphere, the Disney area, Universal where we stay by and stuff like that. So yeah, it was, I was expecting going in and seeing everybody, pissed off,
exhausted.
Exhausted, I think is still a key factor. I think there's a lot of people that are, a little mentally and physically, especially the teams who have been there for a number of weeks and days. There is that, but still it wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be a little bit more negative. It wasn't. As you said, there was still that type of atmosphere where this is a big one. This is a big event.
Yeah.
Everybody's all in trying to get the best they can. And so, yeah, that was interesting to kind of gauge throughout the paddock and talking with competitors. Certainly warm weather, no rain. That has another factor in terms of people's attitudes. So, for me, the racetrack itself, it's a different element than going to Homestead. Homestead, we have a lot of space, a lot of room, but we always have the threat of rain. And I think rain is always making people grumpy. So anytime you can avoid that, is a positive. So I think that helps, that's a big factor in people's attitude throughout the weekend, is not having to do the changeover,
but
clean
David,
the carts and the tents. That's another thing
going
too.
There. That's where you're going. Yeah. Cause like Homestead and rain is muddy and mucky and puddles and you're underwater, right? That's the one thing about the complete paved paddock at Orlando.
Yeah, exactly. And, as you could tell, we'll talk a little bit about this in our next point is you could tell that those tents have been there for over a month because they're covered in soot, they're covered in dirt because it hasn't really rained there that much. And when it does, it's quick and goes through, doesn't flood the area, but it's there, you could tell the tents have been there for a very long time.
Well, one of the things we've talked about so many different series being there out of the gate, SCUSA was the first event to start this 6-event run. So you turn around now, and the fact that the last race, the 2 weeks before SCUSA was straight Rotax. So David, much different track conditions. We talked a lot about it actually on the Kart Chaser broadcast, Xander Clemens and I, with the fact that all that rubber had been put down, the Rotax rubber as opposed to the Avincos. So track conditions much different. They kind of evolved throughout the weekend as finally that Avinco kind of took place or took its position on the racetrack.
Well, that's part of it. The different rubber. You got Florida Winter Tour. You got the Rotax that ran for 3 weeks. So that's it. But the other factor with the Orlando facility is they run a lot of rental carts. They have, I think we talked to Luis from OTK USA. I think they said they have 50 rental carts there alone. So once the competitions are done, they open rental carts up. So that's a factor in terms of the track conditions. Talking with one of the drivers, he said Wednesday the track was super good. And as the days went on, Thursday and Friday, he said the track got a little bit worse and a little bit worse. Now,
interesting.
Is that part of that? Is that part of the way the Avincos react to the rubber that's already laid down? Is it in terms of weather conditions? Because as we noted, the weather was much warmer than what it was in January. And I think it got warmer as the week went along as well, too. So a lot of different contributing factors. One of the main things, though, however, it was dusty and dirty there. That was one of the big problems. It seemed like a lot of the drivers were having engine issues, especially in the X30 categories. We saw Turney have an issue. We saw James Overbeck. Paulie Massimino had a couple other drivers having issues as well. Most of that was kind of going back to, dirt and other material getting into the engines. And one of the things that we noticed and we started seeing and started hearing the drivers talk more and more about, especially during the races, would drive anytime somebody went off the racetrack, the track was completely dirty, just filthy, gross stuff all over the place. And it was very tough to get grip, especially if you're trying to defend. So yeah, it was, that's the one negative, I think. Homestead, you look at Homestead, you go off the racetrack, you just go off in the marbles because everything's paved. Here, there's actually grass and dirt. Yeah. You're going off the racetrack, you're bringing it all back on, and it's not like it's packed down. You look at like a track house where it's all clay, so you're not really bringing a lot of dirt back. Here, it's basically dirt. There's no grass to it, especially as much as I saw the rental carts going off the racetrack every night. That's a lot of dirt.
Well, we were in one of the team. We won't say which team. But we were in one of the team trailers when they were cleaning out an engine, and the carburetor was absolutely filled with crap. It was really bad. So indeed, that's one of the issues for sure. It's kind of just intrinsic with running in Orlando, just because, like you said, there's just guys are off track, and especially turn 5, right? So much dirt coming off of turn 5 over to turn 6 every time somebody went off. It was just literally, the track was littered with dirt. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a different element. It's like a Tucson element. I know we brought that up to a lot of people who talked about it. Anytime you go off the racetrack, you're bringing back dirt. There's no grass there, and so it's a different element. I think it was much more impactful this weekend than it was in the first weekend. We did see a lot of wrecks, but you could tell maybe because there hasn't been a lot of rain in the area that it hasn't been able to kind of compact down that dirt. It's just every time somebody went off the racetrack, it was a cloud of dirt.
Yeah, indeed. All right, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Paddock Pass. Another quick break to hear some messages from our sponsors. When we get back, time to dive into the race report. We'll start with Pro X30. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Superkarts. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Superkarts is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Superkarts chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Superkarts, the world leader in the karting industry. Let decades of experience and success lead you to the top of the podium. Join Brandon Jarsacrack Racing as your race team at the sport's major events in the United States. Brandon Jarsacrack is a 4-time United States Pro Kart Series champion, along with a multi-time Superkarts USA Pro Tour and WKA Manufacturers Cup Series race winner. Jarsacrack is ranked among one of the best from his generation to get behind the wheel of a racing kart. BJR provides full race team service and support at all USPKS, SCUSA, and Stars Championship Series events, along with trackside programs at the Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. Partnering with Mike Doty Racing, Brandon's team of driver coaches and mechanics are passionate for the sport, providing decades of experience both on the track and working with many of today's karting standouts and current motorsport stars. Brandon Jarsacrack Racing offers a full range of services, including kart preparation, driver coaching, and race event support for both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competitors. BJR is an official LN Racing kart team with OTK USA and is an official offset sport race team. Contact them today to develop a program based around your needs. Head to BrandonJarsacrack.com to learn more. Welcome back to this edition of the EKN Debrief. Myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole diving into the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale this past weekend at the Orlando Kart Center. Let's jump into the race report right now, presented today by Factory Karts. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 5-time Super Nationals champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at their Phoenix, Arizona facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its products as Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email info@factorykarts.com. All right, DC, let's jump now into our race reports. We'll start with the Pro X30 category, sponsored by Rawlson Performance Group. Here's the headline. Turney doubles up to claim second series championship.
It was a near perfect weekend for the British driver coming over to compete at the SCUSA Winter Series with Jay Howard, Driver Development, Kart Republic. Ryan Norberg stopped that perfect weekend early, setting up the fast time in qualifying for round 3, a 52.700 to edge out the field for the fast time. Turney, however, did get the better of Norberg late in the pre-final, taking the win ahead of him and Cade McQueen, the elder British driver in the field. Turney actually got shuffled back early in the main event, as it was Norberg and fellow Orlando driver Austin Garrison in the Speed Concepts racing entry. They were able to put Turney back to P3. So we thought we were going to see a good little battle between the three drivers who we essentially consider to be the favorites in the field.
Yep.
Unfortunately, contact in the sweeper between Norberg and Garrison fighting for that top spot sent them off almost into the wall. We thought they were done. They basically did 360s and continued driving, which that in its own was pretty amazing to see those two drivers escape that contact and get back onto the racing surface, losing only a couple positions in the process. However, it did give Turney the lead with Cade McQueen running there in second. McQueen did put it on some pressure throughout just after that incident, taking the lead for a couple laps. However, Turney took back the spot and was able to just drive away to a 4.2 second advantage for the victory.
Yeah, McQueen made it a British 1-2 with Austin Garrison back into the third spot. Jacob Kolar was fourth. He was pretty strong throughout the weekend. And then Colin Lloyd as well. Very impressive, Colin Lloyd. It was interesting for me that they were trying to battle to get themselves back up to Turney. And I think at one point Kolar got himself to the front. Nobody wanted to work together. And Turney was just able to pull away. It was really interesting because he even said he didn't think his car was that great. But nobody wanted to work together coming back to get him. That's the bottom line there.
Yeah, he said it wasn't good on the short runs. That's something that he was looking at. Norberg actually did cross the line in the third spot. Yep. However, that contact with Garrison dropped him down to ninth after his penalty. So that promoted Garrison to the podium, as you said.
Let's move over to qualifying for on Sunday. Turney kept up the roll again, did a 52.768, a little slower than what Norberg did on Saturday, but he would roll in and win the pre-final as well. McQueen coming home in second to make it an all-British front row, David, for the start of the final.
Yeah, and at the start of the final, we thought we were going to see what we saw. Again, Turney, Norberg, and Garrison up at the front of the field. Norberg went to the lead early. Wanted to make sure he was up front and kind of pacing the way. And Garrison sat back in third. And Rob, that's something you talked about a lot on the microphone during the races. Why didn't Garrison make the move? Put Turney back to three. Yeah. Let the other guys try and put a battle on him. And unfortunately, Garrison didn't do that. By the time the second group did join the fight up front, Turney went back to the lead in lap 7, and that was it. Norberg did pressure him a little bit late. But again, just not enough to be able to challenge the British driver as he picked up his fourth victory in the 4 rounds of the SCUSA Winter Series.
Yeah, what didn't they say it was 7 straight races over here since coming back? I think he's won 7 straight events. Just absolutely amazing. Yeah, listen, if you're going to beat Joe Turney, at least at where he is right now in his game, you've got to put him back to third, fourth, whatever. Everybody's got to be on top of him to have any chance. He's just so confident in the kart. And again, the long run pace was so good. He was fantastic at the end of all the races. Like you said, beating Norberg by almost 0.7 of a second. Garrison coming home in third. Diego Ramos actually got a really good start, was able to get himself up in the fight there. Got pretty hectic at the end. He ends up finishing in fourth ahead of Cade McQueen. Again, a solid run for Cade McQueen, another top 5.
Yeah, it was. It was, a good introduction for McQueen coming to the Superkarts USA Winter Series, and now going to be, an all-in effort by him and Energy Corsa Americas for the 2025 season here in the United States. So, McQueen ended up finishing third in the championship behind Turney and Norberg. So, again, a really solid start for McQueen on the 5 season.
Yeah, and that's all we're going to see of Joe Turney, at least for the foreseeable future. I talked to him after the podiums on Sunday, and he obviously has to go back to work for the factory and running those races overseas. We may see him later in the year, but no plans as of yet. He ends up winning that championship by 140 points over Norberg and 180 points over McQueen. So the rivalry's still there, but every driver's going to have to wait for a while before they get a chance to fight Turney again here on American soil. David, into Pro Shifter, presented by PSL Karting. Here's the headline. White gains career first as Morgado earns second straight title.
Saturday was an exciting day in the Pro Shifter category for sure. And as you mentioned early on, it was the arrival of AJ Myers making his 2025 debut this weekend. And Myers came out on a prototype chassis, so using the weekend to kind of learn for the upcoming season. Putting it on pole with a 49.625, able to win the pre-final as well, with Morgado, the now championship leader heading into the weekend, with the absence of Danny Formal sitting there in second, and then Justin White in third. So we knew these three drivers were going to be at the front of the field in the main event. However, we did not anticipate what would happen in the 18-lap final. Early on, Myers was leading, and Morgado got into the back of him, got him into, I believe it was turn 5 there, putting him off into the dirt, allowing Justin White to slide through by both and take over the lead. Myers regained his composure, got by Morgado, and then eventually started reeling in White with Morgado trailing. Eventually, it became Myers and Morgado back to the first and second positions. And then we knew it was going to happen. Morgado's speed, I don't know what it is. I don't know how they keep doing this, but their late run is certainly phenomenal for that PSL Burrell Art machine. It's
Agreed.
Just unreal. He was able to run down Myers again and be right there for the last lap in a battle. It was an over-under move as Myers went a little defensive into turn 1. Morgado dove to the inside of turn 2, the second right-hander there. Half cart in, half cart off. It was a bold move. Got to the side of him, and the two made contact there at the apex. Morgado essentially did a 360 over on top of Myers as they made the exit. Both coming to a complete stop, as Justin White was able to drive around both without getting injured or stopped or connected with the two. And that gave him the lead and the victory for his first Superkarts USA Winter Series triumph.
Yeah, it was Morgado obviously tried to the inside there, wasn't quite into the apex, like side by side coming to the apex. The right-hander climbed up over top of the curbing, and that kind of sent him over into Myers. And of course, as we know, nobody was happy with that at all. Morgado was able to restart and continue. I think he crossed the line in third, David. Is that correct?
Yeah, crossed the line in third after he restarted, but was dropped down to seventh for both contact penalties, the early one and the one at the end on the last lap.
Wow. Gavin Bailiff, who was strong all weekend long, in fact, strong for the entire Winter Series for TKG on the Burrell Art, coming home in second with that incident. Saraceno ended up working his way up he was fourth, ended up third with the penalty to Morgado. CJ Bowman finishing fourth on the Magic card, and Andrew Budashow on the Magic as well. So Magic was essentially fourth and fifth. Pretty, let's just put it this way, David. Things were interesting afterwards. The interviews afterwards were a little bit heated. Nobody happy with the contact there at all.
No, especially not. I don't think Morgado is trying to do that. I think he went for a move. It didn't work out. Very similar to what we saw a couple times. Once with Myers at the Summer Nationals, and then another time with at the Super Nationals there. I believe it was. I'm coming off blank on who he was trying to pass there.
As a Maranello driver.
Yeah, was it Kajak?
Kajak, yes.
Yes. So that's the hard part, and looking at Morgado's social media, started sending old Senna videos of, if there's a hole, you got to go for it. And so I guess that's the mentality, and that's, kind of what it was. Like I said, it wasn't a bad move. It just wasn't executed, in my opinion, looking at, the footage and everything like that. Other people will have their opinions as well too, but it's part of racing, man. Sometimes this is going to happen.
Yeah, you're going to throw it at it. For me, there wasn't a hole. Like he got to the inside, was kind of in there. AJ was already turning into the corner. When you have to climb up over top of the curbing and you can't make the corner, again, that's what it comes down to, right? So it would say, listen, obviously Scusa looked at it. Bo Barfield and the crew have been around a long time. The penalties came down for a reason, because it was Morgado's responsibility, incident responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I agree with you on that.
It is what it is. So,
yeah.
But let's put it this way. After the incident, we heard early that AJ had hurt his ribs, I think was the call from that injury, that edition.
Yeah,
incident.
Yeah, when he was down at the scales, he was like, man, that bleeping hurt, and so you could tell he was in a little bit of pain, and there's not much meat to him, so he's muscle and bones for sure. So
I say this coming back. He rolls out, goes P1 in qualifying on Sunday, 49.575, ends up winning the pre-final over Morgado and White again. but elects then, David, not to run the main event. We're, I'm 2 months away, 6 weeks away from the start of the Pro Tour with the Winter Nationals. So I think maybe electing to say, hey, you know what, I don't feel like getting any more injured. Whatever it was, he did not run the main event.
Yeah, that's exactly what he told me. He's like, I don't want to push it. 8 laps was easier than trying to go 18.
Yeah.
And as we know, Orlando, you're slamming the curbs multiple times throughout a lap. So, we saw Alan Isenbar not racing because of rib injury. So, it's a common thing, especially in karting, even though we have the rib protectors, for a lot of drivers who utilize them, it's still, you don't quite know exactly what's going to happen. So, no problem. There's no championship on the line. It was all for bragging rights. There's no reason to, put himself in danger of injuring himself. Yeah. So it's a smart call. And again, he's a guy that's working 9 to 5 during the week. Why put yourself through that
100%
possibility if you're going to be unable to work during the week with a rib injury?
So with Myers watching from the sideline, Morgado essentially wins unchallenged, 3.239 second of victory over Justin White, who had a fantastic weekend overall. White really dialing things in. So both he and Gavin Bailiff, super impressive, I think, in the Winter Series, really setting up the momentum heading into the Pro Tour. Scott Presley, who could be running in Masters, but elects to run in the Pro category in his Croc promotion, finishes 4th. Lucas de Longchamp, the 15-year-old driver on the Burrell Art, the Canadian, David rounding out the top 5. Vincenzo Saraceno, who had a top 5 on Saturday, ended up being out early. I think it was the engine mount. I think it broken or had come off, right?
Yeah, engine came loose, so a mechanical issue for Saraceno, but he had a great start, and he was another driver hurting, I believe it was back
his
problems.
Tailbone,
that's what it was. Yeah, he changed his seat, did not agree with his body. So again, just little things here and there. And I think that, again, when you're in the pro shifter category, it's all these little things add up in order to be consistent and be there every time. So that's part of it.
Morgado ends up winning the championship by 45 points over Justin White. Gavin Bailiff back by 80. So all 3 of those drivers getting a lot of seat time to be focused for the Winter Nationals at the end of March. Back to another break, folks. When we get back, the race report presented by Factory Karts will continue with KA100 Senior. Established in 1999, PSL Karting has become a powerhouse within the karting industry for North America and around the world. PSL Karting is your complete source for all Burrell Art products as the North American importer, providing this top quality product through both their expansive dealer network or through the PSLkarting.com online store. Whatever you need is available 24/7 online, including safety gear, parts, components, and full karting packages. All 3 brands, Burrell Art, Ricardo Kart, and Charles Leclerc Karts, are in stock and ready to hit the track. Grab your winning chassis for any category by visiting PSLkarting.com to find your nearest dealer. PSL Karting is always looking for interest in new dealers and teams to help create new business relationships. Drivers looking to take their talents to the next level can join the Burrell Art North America race team, competing at all the major U.S. and Canadian events this season. When you're ready to win, go with PSL Karting. Wins at the sport's biggest races, as well as championships across all levels of karting, pack the resume for Nitro Kart. The Nitro Kart brand has made its statement as the best, fastest, and most reliable cadet chassis on the North American karting market. If you want to win in cadet, both in 2-cycle and 4-cycle competition, get a Nitro Kart and join the team. Team Nitro Kart will be at all major events, trackside with Ryan Perry Motorsport, the official race team. Owner Ryan Perry and his RPM operation carries the full selection of Nitro Kart chassis and parts, while also providing the same driver development focus as Nitro Kart owner Nick Tucker. You can also join the Team Nitro Kart race team at all major 4-cycle races this season. Led by longtime Nitro Kart tuner Cody Johnson, Team Nitro Kart will be at all the major Cup Karts North America events with arrive and drive opportunities available for all ages. Nitro Motorsports is a true karts-to-karts driver development program that is already gaining success after launching in 2022. Victories and championships in the Trans Am Series has highlighted the team's start, along with the success in the new GR Cup by Toyota. Current and former karters can take advantage of this unique ladder system with NitroKart and Nitro Motorsports. Visit NitroKart online and find them on social media. NitroKart, race one or chase one. Welcome back to another edition of the EKN Debrief, wrapping up our EKN trackside coverage from the Superkarts USA Winter Series event in Orlando, Florida. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Factory Karts, the presenting sponsor of our race report for this edition of the Debrief. Let's dive into the KA100 senior class presented by AKT Racing Team. Here's the headline. Rivera earns first SCUSA win as Mossman recovers for championship.
The sold-out K100 senior category was certainly fun to watch all year long, and these two rounds were nothing short of that. We did see Canadian Jensen Burnett setting fast time in qualifying for round 3 at 55.509. However, he did come up just short in the pre-final as Blake Nash, the Californian, coming away with the race win in that one. However, in the main event, it was after early shuffling, it was Donovan Bonilla, the former Super Nationals X30 winner and two-time Super Nationals junior winner, Sebastian Garzon, out front and away from the field. They looked to have the race in hand, certainly, until the last lap. Garzon went on the defensive on the inside, Bonilla on the outside, and the two made contact right there in turn one. Not exactly sure what was happening. It looked like Garzon didn't really want to make the entry. It was a weird scenario for me watching it. Not exactly sure what. It feels
to me like Garzon was kind of defending on the inside, but he was way outside getting set for the over/under, and then Garzon came back across the track a little bit. I think he was trying to. I think he moved to the left to try to set for the corner, and they made right front to left rear contact, and both drivers were out.
Yeah, just not a good move.
No.
You got to just hug that inside. If that's where you're going, hug it. You got more corners ahead of you to try and get it back. So, unfortunate for both of them as they had a possible victory taken away. And that left the battle for third, now the fight for the lead. And it was Anthony Rivera able to get a run on Blake Nash coming out of the last corner, going side by side, and Rivera winning at the line by 64 thousandths of a second for the victory for the Team Ferris Racing Kart Republic entry.
Yeah, indeed. Jensen Burnett, who had qualified on the pole, actually finished third across the line, but got a starting infraction penalty that dropped him to P5. That moved Fernandez up into third, Frankie Mossman in fourth, and Jensen Burnett, as we said, pushing him down to fifth position. Mossman was able to work his way back up into the top five as well. All told, it should have been one of the other two drivers, right? Should have been Bonilla or Garzon, but you never know what happens. That's why you keep digging when you're in P3. You never know.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's you race to the checkered flag. You want to, but you got to race smartly too. You can't keep making those mistakes because it'll come back to get you. And again, Garzon, a senior rookie now, made a mistake last weekend, and then again made a mistake here on Saturday.
Yeah, indeed. Rolling into Sunday, and it was actually Thatspix Sarathi who came out and threw a great lap down in qualifying at 55.485. They interviewed him afterwards. All the work they've been doing down at Homestead really paid off, and he was able to put down a great lap. Kind of got roughed up a little bit at the start not so much roughed up, but got driven off a little bit at the start of the pre-final that pushed him back. Jensen Burnett coming up to win that pre-final, get over Fernandez and Nash, setting up what was a wild finish in the Sunday main event.
It certainly was. Let's go back to the pre-final, however, because behind Burnett was contact between Frankie Mossman and Sebastian Garzon on the last lap coming into the final corner. Rob, I didn't see what happened. I think somebody was making a pass and Garzon wanted to follow him through.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened. As we all know, coming out of turn number 10, the right-hand hairpin, a lot of times guys will stack up there. Mossman tried to make a move to the inside coming out, and it wasn't going to work. So the guys on the outside were kind of rolling through. And as they kind of leaned into the start of that, the 11-12 chicane there, Garzon I think it was a little overzealous. He's like, I'm going to follow everybody through. I'm here. And when he threw it in there, he made contact with Mossman, both those drivers going off the racetrack. And again, that you're right. We needed to touch on that because it sets up what Mossman was able to do in the main event, right? But yeah, it was another one for Garzon. Again, you're a young junior driver moving your way up to senior. You're pushing hard. You want to show well, and just a couple of incidents that probably didn't need to happen.
Yeah, and it put Mossman back in the 18th position. He was able to get going again, and very crucial in the championship chase as he came in as a two-time winner and the points leader. So that benefited Blake Nash, who, as the main event started, was the driver in the championship position, was the driver, especially with him up front, Mossman in the back. Mossman needed to come charge up through the field and somehow get onto the podium to be able to salvage a championship. No dependent on what Nash did himself as well. So those were the two contenders in the championship. And as the main event started, it looked like it was all Nash. He got away out front ahead of everybody as they kind of challenged, or, battling behind him. But the story was Mossman was coming through. Eventually got to that pack and started weaving his way through them as they closed up on Nash. So that alone in itself, Rob, with Nash out front by himself and then the group fighting each other, still able to run him down towards the end of that race.
Yeah, eventually once they got there, that's when kind of everything kind of turned around. They were, I believe it was when they were coming out of turn number 10. They'd caught up to Nash. They were kind of in the middle of the fight, and Mossman did again in the inside, the over-under, kind of get out of that corner. And I think they made contact at that point. And that's when Nash, sadly, because he had such a good weekend, he ended up bending the front end. And finally we were able to see it. He's driving with the wheel turned probably 15 to 20 degrees. That's how bad the bend was.
Yeah, it was, that cart was terrible coming out of the corner. So it hurt him down the straightaway. He tried to get through the corner as best as he could, but I want to say it was worse in all the right-hand corners. And as we know, the clockwise direction, a lot of right-hand corners. So not a fun way to end the event for Blake Nash and a possible championship gone, as Mossman took over the lead, led the final 3 laps, and went on to gain his 3rd victory of the series, taking the win and the championship.
Yeah, he ends up winning by almost a second. And it was actually Jensen Burnett across the line in second, but he had a penalty for contact, dropping him down. That allowed Sarathi, after that fantastic qualifying run and then getting shuffled back in the pre-final, to work his way up to second ahead of Fernandez. Frederick Manning ended up finishing in the 4th spot. Raheem Alibi rounding out the top 5. In the championship battle, Mossman winning by 76 points over Nash and 161 over Fernandez. It was a solid battle, all told, David, in the KA 100 senior class.
Yeah, that was a fun one to watch, and being sold out, it could have been even more dramatic if they had the opportunity to open this up. But then I think that would have taken away all the numbers we had in X30 Pro, because we did see a lot of drivers move over. So,
yeah.
But good. I bet there's going to be a lot more come Pro Tour time.
Agreed. All right, into KA 100 Junior, presented by Orsalon Racing. Here's the headline: Vanchev and Salameo split.
Yeah, the two drivers were the two different winners on the weekend, and Saturday it was all Vanchev taking fast time in qualifying with a 56.112. Came up short in his pre-final, though, as Alessandro Truchot was able to get the edge on him in that race ahead of Vanchev. And then the B pre-final, Max Castilla was able to beat Rodriguez and Kennedy for the top spot there. In the main event, it was actually Kennedy jumping out to a solid lead after the early fighting. However, Vanchev and Theo Salome, I can never say his name right.
I go Salameo.
Salameo, that's it. Thank you. I got to put the Y in there to make it to say Mayo.
I think Xander says Salamao, but I said Salameo.
Salameo.
I've never had
correct.
A chance to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Vanchev and Salameo, they were able to run him down. Lap 16, Vanchev took over the lead and led the final 2 laps, scoring a second victory in the KA category on the series.
Yeah. Alexander Vanchev, really good all weekend long, really in control. I think even more than he was on in January when he won the pre-finals, but struggled in the main events to a certain extent. Max Christie, as you said, up into the second spot. He was super quick. Edward Kennedy, man, wow. Just super fast all weekend long. Ton of purple laps. He was paid off that speed with 3rd on Saturday. Edgar Rodriguez coming home in 4th, and Alessandro Truchot, who won his pre-final, coming home in the 5th position. Good to have him over here, a former 2-time, I think, micro Swift Super Winter Series champion, if I'm not mistaken. Salameo came out of the gate, though, on Sunday, laid down a top qualifying run with a 56.011. Castella once again winning his pre-final, this time over Vanchev and Tristan Murphy, who's fast. Salameo from the pole was able to win his pre-final over Travis Pettit and Edgar Rodriguez. In the main event, though, David, had a bit of a breakaway coming out of the gate.
Yeah, and Salameo came off a DQ in round 3. He actually finished 5th. I forgot to write this in the notes.
Yeah.
But a driving down dangerous penalty, disqualification for the round, took those points away. So essentially round 3 became his drop race. And he bounced back very well, top time in qualifying, winning his pre-final, and drove away. Didn't really get challenged, had Travis Pettit on his bumper for every lap. Pettit just not quite able to kind of get there and try anything. Eventually, closed up a little bit there in the last couple of laps, but really it was a dominating performance by Salameo, picking up his first victory at the SCUSA Winter Series. However, it was dramatic in terms of championship because go ahead.
You go. Yeah, I said it was. You're right.
Because coming into the main event, Vanchev needed to finish 3rd. Let me go back to my notes here.
You have your notes.
I think he had to finish 3rd. Keep talking because I'm still scrolling.
I thought it was
4th. Yes, he needed Vanchev.
Won, right?
So Salameo needed Vanchev to finish 4th or worse in order to claim the victory. Or to claim the championship.
But you had to have the fast lap, though, too. Did you not have to have the fast lap?
I believe had to get the fast lap. So that was kind of the interesting part of it, about it, watching it, because the fast lap was kind of changing hands early on. I think we had Salameo had it once, and then Vanchev had it once, and then it ended up becoming Edward Kennedy picking up the fast lap. So those 10 points were kind of essentially gone by the time we got to the halfway point, because typically you don't see the fast lap in this category running late. So,
exactly.
So with that, as they ran, if Vanchev was 4th, Salameo winning, it was going to be a tie. Would go to Vanchev. So that was kind of the drama over it. Vanchev got up into 3rd at one point, and then as Victor D'Alencar came up into that group, put Vanchev back into the 4th spot. But with the way they ran the final laps, it was Salameo up front, Pettit trailing behind, D'Alencar kind of, I think he probably was back by at least 5, 6, 7 kart lengths. And then you had Vanchev running there in 4th. Nobody challenging. Kenny was fast early, but wasn't able to close up and get close to him there. So it was kind of dramatic, but it wasn't dramatic because we didn't see any positions changing there at the end of the race there. Let me see. It was the last 5 laps they ran unchanged. But still there was the unknown. What was going to happen? Could somebody do anything? What was going to happen? So ended up being Salameo, Pettit, D'Alencar, Vanchev, Kennedy as your top 5. And then Vanchev and Salameo ended up tying in the championship chase, but the tie going to Vanchev with his 2 wins.
Yeah, it was an amazing finish, of course. And you're just wondering whether or not Salameo out of nowhere could have maybe got a fast lap, right? That was really the only thing with those 10 points, as you mentioned, going to Kennedy. Had he somehow pulled a fast lap on the last couple of laps, that would have changed everything.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, obviously. So
and Kennedy laid his down 2/10 quicker than anything Salameo or Pettit or Vanchev were able to do. So the only closest driver was Victor D'Alencar, and he was the one that was on the move. But that steam eventually ran out and wasn't able to do anything else.
So the championship: Vanchev, Salameo, Max Christie ending up in the 3rd spot. Let's move to X30 Junior now, presented by Speed Concepts Racing. Here's your headline. You'll hear some of the same names. It is Vanchev doubles to claim title.
Yeah, a breakout performance for Alexander Vanchev on the weekend and on the Winter Series as a whole. But it was Fion Shi that was the driver to keep an eye on for this category, as an issue in Happy Hour put him in the slow group, and he was able to come out of the slow group in qualifying to set the fast time in qualifying, a 54.373, to put himself up towards the up front in the battle. And it was a battle because we weren't quite sure who was going to come away with pre-final. It was actually Jose Schwimmer taking the win ahead of Vanchev and Jackson Porter in that race. As the green flag waved, it was Shermer and Porter who was able to get away. However, Vanchev, who actually fell back to 6th at one point, was charging back up and was able to get back into the lead by lap 11. And then on lap 12, a red flag did come out for an injury after an incident. I believe it was a flip in turn 13. I think that was the issue. The driver was complaining or having blood coming out of his nose and mouth, so they weren't quite sure exactly what was wrong. Possible concussion maybe, so they did throw the red flag to have the medical staff come out and check him out. Luckily, he was able to walk away without any major injuries that we are aware of. However, they did call the race on lap 12, and as Vanchev took the lead by that point, he was awarded the win.
Yeah, Shermer, the Speed Concepts racing driver, coming home in second. Jackson Porter, a really strong run for RPG, coming home third. Ashton Woon, get a rookie junior in the 4th spot. Alessandro Truchot rounding out the top 5. And you mentioned Fion Shi being so quick in qualifying. He did it again on Sunday morning. Came out and laid down a 54.108, even quicker than he went on Saturday. So very impressive for Fion Shi, another one of the RPG drivers. They had a lot of the purple and pink up front, as they always do. And he stayed in the hunt for sure, David, in the pre-final. Vanchev winning, Shi second, and Tristan Murphy third.
Yeah, I think a penalty in the pre-final on Saturday took him kind of out of the contention, or it might have been in the main event. But was able to stay up front in the pre-final with Alex Vanchev, who qualified second, taking over the top spot in the pre-final for the race win. In the main event, it was Vanchev up front with Edward Kennedy again. So another impressive run for the Canadian, who was quick in both categories, which is, again, very tough to do. Kennedy did take the lead for a couple laps, but Vanchev returned back to the point, and that's how they would finish, as Vanchev was able to hold off Kennedy by 0.4 of a second for another victory, a second on the day, and a clincher for the championship.
Indeed, he wins by 194 points over Murphy, and Fion Shi coming home in the 3rd spot overall in the points. 2 Canadians on the podium, Edward Kennedy being one, but Cole Medeiros finally able to have a strong run. He showed really good pace, but man, he had a lot of rough luck in January, but was right there in the middle of the fight in the top 10 and ended up getting a podium on Sunday in the X30 junior category. Jackson Porter, again, we talked about how good he was out of the gate, having joined Rawlson Performance Group, 3rd on Saturday, 4th on Sunday, and Tristan Murphy rounding out the top 5 there. Again, he finished second in the championship ahead of Fion Shi. But big one for, as you said, David, kind of a breakout series for Alexander Vanchev. We've seen so many great young drivers come through that RPG program, right? There was Caleb Gaffera, there was Ernesto Rivera. We've seen guys,
Ardiles and Turner Brown.
Ardiles and Turner Brown as well. They always seem to have somebody in the middle of the championship fight. And obviously, I think right now they've got a bunch of guns there with Vanchev, Fion Shi, Jackson Porter, a lot of good drivers ready to roll there for RPG in 2025.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how that unfolds, but certainly Vanchev coming out of the Winter Series as the lead driver right now.
Another quick break. When we get back, the race report will continue on this edition of the Debrief. KA100 Master Shifter, Mini Swift, and Micro. We'll cap everything off after this break. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. We offer trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, the SCUSA Super Nationals, and other events throughout the season. TKG has Kart Republic, IAME, MG Novinco tires, and more products in stock for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Take advantage of the deals available through RTX USA Group, an official distributor for Rotax karting products in the United States. RTX USA Group provides Rotax engines, Mojo tires, and XPS products to dealers and competitors in the southern U.S. states, from their base in Florida all the way to California. Take advantage of their engine purchase offer, which gives you 2 sets of Mojo D5 tires when you purchase a Rotax Max Evo or the Rotax DD2 Max Evo. For those looking to add a Rotax Micro Max Evo MY20 or a Rotax Mini Max Evo MY-I20 to their lineup, those customers will be provided with 2 sets of Mojo D2 tires. Customers who purchase a Rotax Junior Max Evo won't be left out, also receiving 2 sets of Mojo D2 tires. RTX is also introducing the new Mojo Club, with opportunities to save on Mojo tires by bundling them together. Learn more about becoming a dealer or joining the Mojo Club by visiting rtxkarting.com today. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and the Debrief, number 143, as myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole breaking down the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale at the Orlando Kart Center this past weekend. And let's continue with the race report brought to you by Factory Karts. KA100 Master presented by AM Racing. Here is the headline: Crivelli and Fonseca split with former earning title.
Yeah, it was a battle all weekend long. We did see that last month in this category with Franco Crivelli and Rafael Matos, but now it was Crivelli and Charles Fonseca taking the battle to another level. Fonseca taking top honors in qualifying, a 56.906, moving to the Oralison Performance Group tent for the month. Not sure he was under the tent last month, but did have the colors on this weekend. So, and certainly showed a better pace this time around with that fast time in qualifying. But Crivelli taking the pre-final win over Fonseca with Paul Elefante in the 3rd position. The top 2 of Crivelli and Fonseca were able to break away from the field in the main event, with Crivelli taking over the top spot on lap 15, as he was able to hold off Fonseca in a drag race to the line, winning by 9 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, it was a good battle between Paul Elefante and Miguel Mir as well. Nico Ribas was in there, but the final spot on the podium, Elefante and Mir going at it pretty aggressively. That's how they finished. Crivelli would come out of the gate again with a 56.618, going quicker on Sunday than Saturday. He ends up winning the pole position, but in the race, it was Fonseca, David, who rolled up. What happened to Crivelli? I can't remember what happened to him. It was Monday Lawyer was second and Miguel Mir. I don't remember what happened to Crivelli.
I thought there was contact that dropped Crivelli back into the 5th spot on the last lap. There was something that happened because I came in after taking photos and something had happened and Crivelli dropped to, I want to say 5th or 6th. So yeah, there was an issue. I guess you guys didn't see it.
I can't. It doesn't pop in my head. I can't remember it.
Yeah, because I think you guys called it. You guys said I didn't see it, but Crivelli's down to the 5th spot. So yeah,
let's put it this way: it got exciting in the main event, though.
Yeah, it certainly did. It got exciting. It was Crivelli at the lead and away, but eventually he was run down by Fonseca. So Crivelli came through, got to the lead, and then got away. And then Fonseca was sitting there running second. I was like, okay, this race is kind of over. But Fonseca put on a good pace towards the end of the race, was able to run down the leader of Crivelli. And then, again, a last lap battle between the two. They seem to know each other very well. It was an interesting dynamic watching these two. And once again, they came out of the last corner side by side, a good over-under. I want to say it was Fonseca that was on the outside. I guess when you're going through the kink, it would be the inside. And then
he made the move to the inside. Then there was on the inside of the kink, and then what he calls on the outside.
So they came to the kink side by side, smashing side pods. That was for sure. They smashed it one too many times. Crivelli got the worst of it. Basically spun around a 360 after the contact, with Fonseca able to kind of power through and go straight without any damage or any stoppage. And he was able to reach the line first, taking the victory and breaking up the sweep of the main events.
Yeah, Paul Elefante ended up finishing second. Monday Lawyer did come across the line in third spot, but got a penalty, as did Miguel Mir, I believe. That moved Rivas up into the third spot. Monday Lawyer ended up fourth, and Mir rounding out the top five. In the championship fight, Crivelli with such a strong opening weekend. And of course, he won 3 of the 4 main events. He wins over Fonseca by 157 points. And Paul Elefante finishing third overall in the championship, 210 back with a good run of success and results over those 4 rounds. Master Shifter, a shorter field here than we had in January. Only 3 drivers in the class. The category brought to you by Velocity Racing by Sodi USA. Here's the headline. Barnes wins 3rd straight as Martinelli earns finale victory.
Yeah, it wasn't a sweep for Barnes in the opening round of the weekend, round 3 overall. He did set fast time at 51.314 in qualifying, but a flat tire in the pre-final put him off into the pit lane early, giving Rene Martinelli the win and Tyler Gilbo the 2nd spot. But in the main event, Barnes was able to overcome the flat tire and continue to go on to win the round 3 action, winning by over 10 seconds, with Martinelli dropping out of the final and Gilbo running in the 2nd spot.
Yeah, so at that point, Barnes has essentially locked down the championship already with the 3 wins. He came back out on Sunday and qualified on pole again. Barnes, Martinelli, Gilbo, the top 3, the way they were in the pre-final. The cool thing is they started them with, of course, not separate start, but started them with the pro shifters. So Barnes and Martinelli got up there and battled with a couple of the guys at the tail of the pro shifter category. So I expect would have been some fun for them. Barnes did lead early, David, I believe, in the main event, but then had an engine let go on lap 16. Is that what happened?
Yeah, lap 16 came out of the opening corners, or turns 1 and 2, and parked it there with an engine issue. That gave the win to Rene Martinelli on the TB kart.
So again, as I said, Barnes ends up winning the championship there. Let's move over to Mini Swift right now, presented by Bennett Kart. Here's your headline. De Gennaro and Wyatt take career firsts.
Yeah, near perfect weekend for Enzo De Gennaro, coming off a Rotax Winter Trophy triumph, going back to the Rotax Grand Finals for his 2nd year in a row. De Gennaro dominated the day on Saturday. Fast time in qualifying at 59.190 on his Parolin Motorsport USA entry, winning the pre-final, and then going wire to wire in the main event. He had Vitor, a former Team USA driver. The two got to know each other over in Italy last year and ran 1-2 in the main event. Vitor put the pressure on in the closing laps, and it was only 13 thousandths separating the two at the line as De Gennaro picked up his first series victory.
Yeah, side by side coming across the line. We saw a number, especially the cadet classes, but a number of classes, some drivers actually working together and pulling away. And that's indeed what you saw here. De Gennaro and Vitor locked up, broke away, and were able to stretch enough gap. And you need probably 2.5 to 3 seconds of gap, because once you start battling over the last couple of laps, the way the track plays at Orlando, the rest of that group starts coming in. So indeed, Gennaro and Vitor are able to get away. Maxwell Macha coming home in the 3rd spot. Aston Wyatt in 4th. He was super strong all weekend long, and Benja Fernandez having to come from deeper in the field in the race to work his way up to P5. David, you mentioned De Gennaro is super fast. He continued on Sunday morning with a 59.492, qualified on the pole, won the pre-final, this time over Wyatt, and that would kind of set things up because once they started rolling, David, De Gennaro and Wyatt were able to break away.
Yeah, so very similar scenario to what we saw on Sunday. This time, De Gennaro had a different dancing partner. Mm-hmm. It was the Nitro kart of Aston Wyatt from Texas. As they ran 1-2, Wyatt looked like he was going to be able to try something. It didn't work out, and De Gennaro actually crossed the line first. What was a provisional 2nd win on the weekend for for the Parolin driver. However, De Janeiro was penalized for blocking, so that took the win away, dropping him all the way down to the 6th position. However, did give Aston Wyatt the victory, his first Winter Series victory on the Nitro kart.
Yeah, they had a big gap, as we said, pulling away almost 2.5 seconds over the next driver, Cameron Johnson on a Merlin, who was really strong throughout the entire weekend. He is rewarded with the 2nd place finish. Maxwell Macha on the podium again, 2nd straight one for him. He finished 3rd ahead of Fernandez and Zane Burgess. In the championship, De Janeiro, based on all the success he had, winning the title over Zane Burgess by 27 points. Benjamin Fernandez back there in 3rd, 44 points back. Let's cap off the race report right now with Micro Swift, presented by Energy Course Americas. Here's the headline. Flores escaped with win and title as Simoni earns career first.
Yeah, this was another driver that had a dominating performance in round 3, sweeping the action on the day. A 1 minute 0.279 second lap to set fast time in qualifying, going on to win the pre-final, and then drove away from the entire field in the main event. It was a flawless performance for Marcelo Flores on the Kart Republic, winning by 5.2 seconds in the 16-lap main event.
Hudson Howard has moved himself into the forefront of the Micro Swift category. He ended up finishing in the 2nd spot. Leo Simoni in 3rd. Aiden Go 4th, having finished 2nd in the pre-final. Then Alvaro Medeiros rounding out the top 5. Coming out in qualifying was Zev Gottschalk. I think from the first group, actually, was super quick. He turned a 60.526 to qualify on the pole. But the Saturday winner, Flores, stepping things up once again, winning the pre-final ahead of Lennox Lockhart and Hudson Howard.
Yeah, and it was Flores and Lockhart who locked up together and was able to get away from the field in the main event. Lockhart had 2 runner-up finishes in the opening weekend, so he's kind of looking for that victory. And fought for it very hard. The two, however, fought a little too close together in the last lap, fighting for the win as the two tangled on the exit of the hairpin after the long straightaway. They were unable to break free and break apart, and this gave the battle for the 3rd spot. Now the battle for the victory in the final couple of corners, and it was Leo Simoni, the Canadian, coming across the line ahead of Dutch Westbrook.
Yeah, Dutch Westbrook finishing in the 2nd spot. Zev Gottschalk coming back to 3rd, Aiden Go 4th, and it was Brody on the energy cart coming home P5. It was a tough one there. It was kind of an over-under. The battle between Flores and Lockhart. Lockhart got inside him. Flores was kind of defending to the right and kept turning, and they finally made contact. Those drivers finishing well back in 31st and 35th, respectively. Flores, based on so much success, ends up coming up as the champion, but by only 16 points over Leo Simoni. And again, Dutch Westbrook, as we said, rounding out the top 3.
Yeah, because he actually had 2 DNFs. So it's pretty shocking to win a championship with 2 wins and 2 DNFs.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, all the points up for grabs, qualifying on pole, pre-finals, right? You got to get all the work done and grab as many points as you possibly can. That wraps things up for the race report, folks. Our final break in this edition of the Debrief. When we come back, we'll look at the Constructors' Championship. We'll wrap things up. And last but not least, we'll have a look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2024 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the Tatis JR23. As a first step of the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 13-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Continental Tires. 3 of the events in 2024 will run alongside IndyCar at Mid-Ohio, Road America, and Portland. The champion will win a scholarship worth over $263,000, and there's a total prize fund that will exceed $330,000. The series utilizes the state-of-the-art Tatis JR23 race car, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving into the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the minds of the series promoters, and the new USF Juniors car also features the Halo, and races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. In this day and age, if you need something for your karting program, it's just one mouse click away. One of the leading online stores in the sport of karting is tsracing.com. The Florida-based company has been serving the karting community for decades. TS Racing is one of the few kart shops with technical expertise in all divisions of karting. TS Racing's online superstore features a full range of the products you need to start karting today, or to restock your garage or trailer for the racing season. TS Racing is also the official distributor for Vega tires. For dirt, road racing, sprint, and the most popular 4-cycle tire with Cup Karts North America, a wide range of Vega compounds and sizes are available for your karting needs. Head over to tsracing.com today or call 352-793-9600 to learn more about the Vega tire brand or the many products that they have at TS Racing. Let's cap off this edition of the EKN Debrief and cap off our coverage of the Superkarts USA Winter Series for 2025. We'll look forward with SCUSA competition to the start of the Pro Tour, the Winter Nationals at Speed Sports Racing Park in the end of March, start of April. Let's have a look now at the Constructors' Championship. David, 9 brands scoring wins over the 18 victories. Let's have a look at another solid weekend for Kart Republic.
Yeah, not quite what they had in January, where they did get 9 or 8 wins. They did pick up 6 this weekend. So leading the way in this pretty diverse roster of chassis. So 9 over the 18 wins. Cosmic picking up 3. Tony Kart and Marinello each picking up 2 as well. But then we had Burrell Art, Red Speed, Parolin, Nitro Kart, and TB Kart all picking up a win. So more diverse this time around, Rob. And that's what we kind of saw a lot last year. Agreed. With a lot of different brands picking up wins. So we'll hopefully see that continue in 2025.
Okay, let's wrap up the action. David had mentioned just the one red flag. That driver was okay on the instant. That was nice that they were able to walk away. But we did have a couple of flips. There was a number of flips on the weekend where drivers kind of got sideways, got into the dirt, and went around. Thankfully, David, everyone was able to walk away from those flips.
Yeah, I think we saw ZCD, Zachary Clayman DeMello flip in a KA senior start. We saw who's the RPG driver? Was it
Henry Leopard? Yeah,
he went over pretty hard there in turn 5 in the dirt there, but was able to walk away. And then, as a tall guy, I know that does not feel good because it's tough being the tall guy getting flipped over. So we did see that, but again, luckily everybody was able to walk away. Again, just part of having that many entries, you're going to get a few incidents here and there.
Overall, if you kind of detail the entire weekend, dusty, hot, humid. It was. We talked about earlier in the paddock pass about the engine issues potentially with a lot of dirt, and it just. I think for a lot of drivers, they were like, okay, we're done with Orlando. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think if anything, it would have been great to have it rain at night, just to kind of wash away the tents, wash away the dirt, and kind of put things down a little bit. And but other than that, again, if you don't want the rain racing, it was a perfect weekend for you because it was beautiful sunshine all weekend long. It's just a little dusty and humid for us for the conditions, and I would much rather have that than the walking around in mud or feet of water.
Agreed. So listen, let's kind of wrap things up here. And indeed, the SCUSA Winter Series, we call it kind of this unofficial spring training. It's kind of you get out. You've been on the couch for a couple of months after the Super Nats. It's a good opportunity to get out there and get some, get back into the groove. Maybe you're jumping up a class. You're getting a feel for the other drivers you're racing against, a new package, whatever it may be. But for the drivers who end up winning championships, David, it's all about momentum, right? Momentum and confidence. You've come out of the first series of the year. You've shown what you've got, especially if you're jumping up a class, maybe and founding the speed. But every driver who comes away with a championship is going to have momentum moving into the remainder of the season.
Yeah, it's I think the biggest part was seeing a lot of the drivers making the jump up to the next level, whether it be, micro to mini or mini to junior.
Yep.
And even a few, I think there's a few junior to senior guys that we did see, but not too many. But that's the main issue looking at that. Looking at, this series is seeing where they're going to, where they're introducing themselves to.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. So a lot of rookies did very well over the weekend. Again, we were at the same racetracks. A little bit hard to judge because at least with Homestead, we go in the different directions. So we essentially have two different racetracks there. Where here we had the same racetrack, and many of them have been on the same racetrack for over a month. So you kind of get comfortable. You're not trying to relearn a racetrack. So that's the situation with the Pro Tour, going to 3 different and unique racetracks for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how the competitors handle those 3 challenging courses.
Yeah, when we come to speed sports, it's going to be a much different challenge than the 6 straight weeks, of course, at Orlando Kart Center. Let's wrap this thing up now with the EKN Trackside Live race calendar, today presented by Sodi Racing USA. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodikart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season, thanks to the new exclusive importer, the karting distribution led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodikart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Sodi chassis, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodikart, the world leader in the karting industry. All right, David, a little bit of a break in the action, at least for me. I'm not going to be back until the Challenge of the Americas of the first weekend of March. I've got USF Pro Championships events to go to, spring training, and, of course, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. But you're off for a weekend, and you're heading back to Phoenix. We haven't been to Phoenix in a while. You got the Race Rotax RMC USA West event. That'll be great out at PKRA.
Yeah, Phoenix Kart Racing Association. I've been there many, many times with the Challenge, with Superkarts USA Pro Tour. I don't think any other events that we've been to. So those are kind of the 2 main programs that we've visited this racetrack. You've been there a long time, many times back in the old SCUSA Pro Moto Tour days.
Exactly that.
So, it'll be good to get there. Going to work with Henry Boudet, announcing the events. We'll have the full EKN Trackside Live coverage, streaming on the radio and on the live page as well. And going to see some Rotax Grand Finals tickets handed out that weekend, like we did see in Orlando with the Rotax Winter Trophy.
Yeah, expecting some big numbers for that one. February the 21st to the 23rd out at the Phoenix track in Glendale, Arizona. A couple weeks later, David and I will be trackside at K1 Circuit. It'll be our first time getting out to that brand new track in Winchester. Obviously, rave reviews from everybody we've talked about. The Challenge of the Americas, the second event on that series, David, March 7th, 8th, and 9th. I'm super excited to check out this K1 track.
I'm excited for the K1 bump.
Yeah.
We're gonna see some big numbers. There's a lot of Southern California racers who do like racing at the Challenge event. Some of them just don't like traveling. And but with the new K1 circuit, this is going to be the 3rd event of 3 races there in a row. As you got Tri-C racing there, I believe next weekend. Then you got the California Pro Kart Challenge there, the February 28th, or I'm sorry, March 1, March 2. Then you'll have Challenge in the Americas. So a lot of the K1 circuit's going to be the Orlando Kart Center of California.
For now, yeah. To start things off of the year here. Let's wrap up this edition of the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. Look kind of a month out. March 14th, 15th, 16th, David goes from the West Coast to the East Coast, Dave. You'll be at the opening round of the United States Pro Kart Series, the Daytona Grand Prix. USPKS going to the Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah, historic event for the USPKS program, going to be hosting what I think is a 14th season. I got to do my math better. I can't remember that, but it started back in 2013. So no, this is the 13th season. That's correct. So yeah, excited to be part of history. The World Karting Association's always been hosting events at Daytona International Speedway. We saw Cup Karts North America go there with their South Divisional program, and now United States Pro Kart Series heading there. So great way to open up the 2025 season, a racetrack a lot of these competitors have never been to, and I think that's going to make it a fun one. I know a lot of the team owners or team managers, mechanics, they've all raced and been there and won there. But I will say, Rob, and we always say this, there's nothing like rolling through the tunnel at Daytona.
Yeah, it's under the tunnel at Daytona, under the tunnel at Indianapolis, to, of course, the absolute, iconic tracks in the United States. I think there's a race going on there this weekend, is there not, Daytona? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it. I don't know much about it.
Yes. Folks, that wraps things up. Again, lots of action coming on EKN, and we thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of the Debrief. It was a fantastic Superkarts USA Winter Series. SKUSA, of course, super pumped with the numbers, the momentum they have moving into the Pro Tour, which gets underway at Speed Sports in Houston at the end of March, start of April. That's going to be a tremendous weekend. They're going to pack that place big time. The numbers are going to be huge. Well, and again, we talked about the amount of shifter carts we had at the Winter Series, right? That was kind of the only place anybody was running shifters in the East, and everybody's going to be coming together when we get to Speed Sports. That is going to be a big field in the Pro and Master shifter categories. Looking forward, of course, kicking off the 2025 Superkarts USA Pro Tour. Again, big thank you to our sponsor of this edition of the Debrief, AIM Sports. Good to have them back on board with us once again. And that wraps things up, folks. On behalf of David Cole, thanks for tuning in. My name's Rob Howden.